and that you are the message that you seem to always come back to is stillness. And I read a quote that you did with gentleness, that the ego doesn't like um, gentleness, so that our path should always be gentle, and we should always be returning back to stillness. And that was just beautiful to hear.
Right. Yeah. Thank you. And oh, thank you for having me, by the way. And it's lovely to talk to you. And I think that you resonated with that means that your heart knows the importance of gentleness too. It's very easy to say we all want to go home to God, but um, that could be seen as a eh, you know violent and hard way. Like we force ourselves to change. We don't recognize that this path need extreme gentleness, like gentleness as you couldn't believe it. And I think once if you've been on the path for a while, you recognize that need, as you said.
Right.
Yeah.
Um, I think some of the times we could see that need for, okay, I need to be gentle with other people. I need to be a little kinder. Jesus talked a great deal about kindness in both the Gospels and in the Course, but we lose track of the fact that gentleness starts with ourselves. We really need to practice that gentleness, our own practice, to not be so. Forgiveness is that great. Forgiveness is gentleness. If I can really be forgiving to myself, I'm being infinitely gentle with myself.
I totally agree because let's say if you one is starting out with A Course in Miracles and you learn that forgiveness involves projection, like the theoretical part of it, that's fine. But as you said, forgiveness is gentleness because after a while we realize that we're always supposed to have be aware of some kind of resistance and our fear of love, because that is what resistance is. The fear of love is fear because of we dissolve our separate identity, which we think is basically it's what we invested in for all our life. We cherish it. So by saying, as you said, forgiveness is gentleness, is to kind of be in touch with that fear and resistance, but knowing that it is through being gentle with it that it dissolves, because gentleness says, of course you're afraid. We explained in the Course of Miracles why you're afraid. And that is not sinful. It's not that you're a bad student. It's what's supposed to happen. And if we would attack, change ourselves and all of that, that is not what is required. It's the lightest touch that is required. And the thing is, this is the hardest thing, at least for me, but I can imagine for most people, about A Course in Miracles, that it takes so little, and that the gentleness, you know, has to be a lot. Because here's the thing, like if we look at self-help, um, it's basically we who do the change. In A Course in Miracles, it's the Holy Spirit who does the change by it's a non-judgmental awareness that's within us, and that makes the change. All we have to do is kind of allow for that to happen and dare to go where the Holy Spirit wants to uh, show His light. Now, that is, as even Jesus says in A Course in Miracles, it's in a way highly insulting to us because we want to do the work. Like
Right.
he's saying, you're basically not needed here. Just look with me honestly, and that's it. We want to do something. We want to change ourselves. We want to blame ourselves because that still makes it about us, right?
Um,
Yeah.
Coming from an athletic background, I always want to train. I want to get in shape for the next event. I want to do the reps. I want to, like you said, I always want to be doing something. And that is the ego always wanting to take charge. and basically saying to the Holy Spirit, we're rolling up our sleeves. I'll take over here.
mm,
Thank you for leading me to the course, but now I'll do, you know, I'll take over. The Holy Spirit seems, or the ego always seems to want to take over.
uh,
And you would think it would be the easiest thing in the world to say,
mm.
I don't have to do anything. I let the Holy Spirit do it. But as you said, it really is the hardest part.
Exactly, and it is hard because what we're saying is that we don't want to let in another way of looking at things, and like to let in the Holy Spirit is to say that I'm not guilty, and by saying I'm not guilty, in a way, it's like saying I don't exist, because if we're guilty, it's dramatic. I'm somebody, I have done something. But if we're not guilty, it's not really a personal story by then. Then it's like we're like everybody else. Nothing has happened. That's the principle of the Holy Spirit. Nothing has happened. And so in that way, it is, as I said before, it's insulting, but it's insulting to the ego, but it's also like to take in that love. And we 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 can accept love if it's special to us. Special meaning individual. Whenever A Course in Miracles says special and specialness, it's talk about the personal and the individual, which we think we are, but that love is not special, and that we can be part of that. But I think to understand that we're part of non-personal love, we have to look into, like every time we judge somebody, which the Course calls attack, we're saying that that love isn't real. And then we feel guilty for it. And so, if that is what we are constantly doing, how can we then identify with the universal love? We want
Right.
personal love, our individuality and our love too. But the real love has to be universal. And for that to be in our awareness and for us to accept that perfect love, we have to stop excluding people in the sonship. We have to withdraw our attacks, our judgments, and that is forgiveness.
Um, and that's probably the biggest stumbling point that we come across as we approach the course, as we even years of practice, we still like insisting on that personal love, um,
Yeah,
and that we're entitled to it, and that we are also entitled to leave people out in
right.
that love. But what did I think chapter 17 talks about any exclusion that we make means we're excluding ourselves from the whole.
Mm, mm. And as you said, that specific love is like, if I backtrack, like to come to Jesus' perfect love, in a way, it is to withdraw from the world in terms of investments. It is to basically say, like the ego says, life here can be manageable as long as we get our special love, the specific love. But we have to see that this special love isn't really something to go after. It doesn't make us happy. Only then can we say that there must be another way, and to go to that universal love, which, it's like, I want to stress that it's important in A Course in Miracles to kind of like, we can't sit where we are and think that I can have Jesus' cake and the world's cake at the
Right.
same time, because they go against each other. If we had the universal love, the perfect love, we wouldn't seek special love in out in the world. We just wouldn't. We would be too happy for it. And I don't want to make special love sinful. It is just misdirected. It's love. We're looking for love, but it's misdirected. Yeah.
So how was it for you? I know that you came to the course through Krishnamurti was one. A
Yeah.
lot of the Eastern traditions.
Exactly.